Will you please state your name for the record?
Please welcome Pamela Anderson.
Did you know anything at all about Mr. Lee before you met him?
I knew he was the drummer for Mötley Crüe.
Did you find him attractive?
I liked his smile. I still do.
We're so good together, Pamela.
To everlasting love.
We have recently come into possession of a piece of material.
Hello, and welcome to Mix Emmy Awards season. I'm Tom Kenny. I'm the editor of Mix Magazine, and we're joined today with the crew of Pam and Tommy, the Hulu original limited series focusing on the life of Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, and the introduction of the world's first internet celebrity sex video back in the mid-1990s, a time, the not-too-recent past. This show moves. This show moves into a lot of locations across its 8 episodes. And we're here today to talk about episode 4, submitted for an Emmy nomination. Episode 4, the world sort of comes crashing down and we move around a lot. Juan, I'd like to start with you. In the course of a typical television drama, this moves around a lot. We have interiors, exteriors. The scenes are quick, in and out of doors. As a production mixer, what's this like on such a tight schedule of moving around? Can you give us an idea of your time in the field?
I have to say that it was a very challenging show. It was one of the more difficult shows I ever worked. Number one, because locations, the one-liner, it will change like every single day. You thought you were going to shoot a bedroom scene, but out of the blue, you're doing a driving scene. And, the rehearsals, no rehearsals. It was private rehearsals. And after that, the director or the AD will come out and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And you have to be creative.
Is it a lot of boom, a lot of lavalier? I mean, we have a lot of movement. What do you have?
I have everything. I have booms, I have wires, I was planting microphones, you name it. Sometimes in each scene, it's like 6, 7 microphones and you only see 2 people talking. I have to coordinate with the actors that which they're amazing. Lily, Seth, Sebastian. I mean, because sometimes we were doing scenes, walking down the hallway, walking into the bathroom, walking into the closet, taking the clothes off, jumping into the bed, and, everything was a steady cam.
There's a lot, very, very few clothes at certain points to hide my clothes, certainly. And we have this house. A lot of the drama revolves around them at home. Without having a spoiler alert, it takes place in the middle of construction at their house. That sort of serves as a hub. Juan, was the house a real house? Were you able to record?
Were the house, the exteriors and part of the interiors, it was real, and the bedroom, the construction part was on stage. Was done on stage.
Becky, you picked this up. Then you have to pick up all these environments, and we're moving indoor, outdoor. A lot of rooms in the bedroom, in the construction, in clubs. We have loud, banging music. Can you talk to me a bit about working with these environments in and out of them?
Well, the house was an interesting thing because there was construction going on. There was a master bedroom. There was another room that Tommy was making into a playroom. And there was the kitchen. There was different rooms, and we were constantly having construction going on. So in the mix, the 3 of us were always like, okay, where are they and where are the workers? Are they left? Are they right? Are they upstairs? Are they downstairs? Where in the house are we? And then where can we put the construction noise? So that was kind of challenging in knowing how the house was laid out. So that was kind of a fun thing where we were just, putting the sounds of hammers and different things and knowing where it was in the house.
Very distinct nail guns and stuff in the beginning.
Sort of add to what Becky's saying, like, here's an example. There's a scene in an earlier episode where there's a lot of construction and, workers are kind of walking by and surrounding us, but they're interrupted by, Pam and Tommy getting intimate, as they often do in the series, upstairs. So we put them in the ceiling, and it has to be louder than the construction noise to sort of deaden the liveliness of all the workers. And so that was an example of using space to sort of put our characters somewhere in the house.
And you're able to work, this is mixed at Sony, I understand, it's stage 6 in a new Atmos room, and you're able to mix this in Atmos, something we don't normally associate with television dramas, in a sense. And yet, it really helps fill the space and differentiate the space, I would think. Did you play with the Atmos mix and such? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, we did as much as we could. Whenever it was needed, we definitely tried to use it. Like that scene specifically was something, we watched an earlier cut, and Ryan and I both were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna put them in the ceiling just immediately."
Calls for it.
Yeah. So that was great. And then with Matt Martin's score, I used a lot of Atmos with that, and it really opened it up. And the score was amazing. So it really helps fill the room with that.
Yeah, and I would like to get to the music and the score in a minute, because songs are played very interesting throughout the film as well.
There's a lot of songs.
There's a lot of songs, and certainly some in juxtaposition to what's going on the screen. Very cleverly done in the music supervision part here. But let's go back to the house. I mean, is this a traditional track, Becky? I mean, are we talking effects, Foley, backgrounds that you're working with? We work in a period, and I did want to address the fact that we're in the mid-'90s, early internet. There's different beeps.
Period piece, and that it was about a videotape and the distribution of that. And as we went through the story with, the sounds of those old computers and Tommy not understanding computers and all the different modems and all the different sounds from that era that we had to go back to and, put all that stuff in. It was really fun. This series for me was a highlight. I mean, we loved working on it. It was really, it was just really fun. But just getting those period sounds were, it really worked.
Yeah, those old modems and even the the internet dial-up sound that really takes us back to our old AOL days. But I mean, that's from a sound design perspective, that was really used to sell the time period and to tell the story.
And at times to put that in with the music and just some really cool, keyboard tapping and different things that the music, we supported the music, and it was fun, very creative.
We're here talking about a streaming service, and one of the things I chuckled at was that ejection on a beta tape or a VCR, when it comes out, that chunky sound that we all know. It's not that long. The one thing we forget is it's not that long ago. I mean, really, that we have dial-up modems. I think at one point he says, hoping for a 56 kilobit modem.
Yep.
We can laugh at that today. Let's talk about a scene or two, because this was picked, episode 4. This is in the drama, the arc of the series. This is chaos. I feel like the episode. Why? Let's start. Ryan, Nick, jump in. Why do you think this episode was picked? I mean, what is it about this episode that sort of stands out to you?
Well, it's kind of a changing point when they figure out the tapes for sale, and like you said, it's just chaos. Very beginning. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but it's a very happy moment at the beginning of the episode, and the episode ends. I personally feel like it's one of the most powerful endings of the season when we get to it. At the end of episode 5. And so the kind of the arc of the episode, there's a lot of fun music that comes in, needle drops that come in, but there's also some really cool sequences we do with the effects and everything else that just really work. It all works really well. It's a very clean episode. The transitions are really sharp and precise, and it just felt like it was a good one to kind of give an overall feel of the entire series.
Yeah, this one really kind of fell into place well with, with the sound design and the score. They seem to work really well together in this, the whole series for sure, but in this episode in particular. I mean, there's this episode, there's the Hell's Angels gang is in it, and there's a lot of fun motorcycle stuff that really works well with the score. The score dips, and then we can feature the motorcycles, and then the motorcycles go away and the score comes in, and the elements used in the score, and they can talk about that, are really, they just work well together.
Yeah, I think with this, you get a a taste of what the show does really well throughout the whole season. A little bit of everything,
Yeah.
you know. So instead of picking an episode that just kind of focused on one thing, we get a little bit of everything in this one.
Well, a couple scenes that we could discuss. One that stood out to me is that Pamela's on set. And it's actually a whole sort of sequence where they're all finding out that this is released. But particularly Pamela, she's walking through. There's some confusion, voices coming at her. Could you, can we start with you maybe? I mean, you're on location there, and this is the midst of change. Can you talk a bit about the scene, how you record that in the middle of her spinning around?
In the spinning around, we have two booms. We have two microphones in the ceiling because in the bathroom, you know, we have these tall ceilings that they were at the stage. And, we coordinate with, every time we go into a scene, it was like a 1 hour of camera rehearsal just to make sure, everything was right before the actors get to set. And, we have sometimes up to 6 microphones just for the spinning. Just, we just wanted to give post different options for to have booms, plant microphones, wires. And, the actors, they were so good when it will come to wires,
Becky, you received Juan's tracks. These couldn't have been easy to record. I mean, what are you receiving and hearing that dialogue amidst some of these montage-like scenes where they're finding out? Could you address the dialogue?
Again, it was very well recorded. Yeah. And, I think some of the challenges, it was funny with some of the prosthetics.
You were hearing the noise when she was moving?
On camera, you can hear certain squeaky things happening and certain things that we had to clean out of the dialogue because she wore this headpiece and chest piece, and she was, poor Lily. She had a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but every day she has to go through like 4 to 5 hours of just makeup.
Hours of makeup.
Oh. Wow.
She had a headpiece, the chest piece, and the eyebrows and teeth, and
yeah. I mean, the whole
so she must be ADR'd a little bit then. There must be ADR.
Oh yes, yeah. There's plenty of ADR with Lily. There was the teeth at times is a thing that you can kind of hear, and so we cleaned out certain things with her mouth movement and with the false teeth, and then with her accent, she's British, and just being Pamela, was very important to Lily to make sure she got that sound.
Every day they were in character, They were not Lily, there was no Sebastian, it was Tommy and Pam. And they were watching videos, in between takes, they were watching videos of them. They just wanted to capture that character of them. Even, I have a story about Sebastian. On day 2, he wanted to get into character. And he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, Juan, this is what I want to do. I want to be Tommy. And the only way I can be Tommy is if I'm hearing music while I'm acting." And I'm like, okay. And, but every time I go on camera, I have to take my headphones off. What can I do? And I'm like, well, what do you want me to play? I say, I can play it, I can give you an earwig. And he's like, I have a playlist that I have that it gets me into character. So I give him an earwig, and I put a transmitter into his personal phone. And that's how he start projecting. That's how he's acting crazy. And because he's like, Tommy's always screaming, but I'm not him. How can I speak up? I say, well, put that earwig in your ears and
play some loud rock and roll music.
And that's what he did. That's what he did. Yeah. And he did an amazing job,
Well, let's cut to music then. I mean, if we could for a minute, because there's another scene I'd like to talk about, the end. I mean, if we could, maybe Becky, Ryan, Nick, what do you walk us through the sort of ending scene? Because music is played with score, song, juxtapositions coming in and out. Could you talk a bit about the music?
We go, I believe it's 3 Non-Blonde song that we go to first when they go to the hospital, and then which is pretty powerful. And then we kind of see what's happening, and as the scene evolves and we get to the end, I can't remember the name of the song right now off the top of my head, but it's this really powerful moment. There's this very sweet old, I think it's probably like a 50s style song that's playing over them kind of embracing and realizing what just happened. And you have the paparazzi coming in and just kind of steamrolling that moment, and they just lose it. And you finally see Pam break, and she gets out of the car and she just unloads on this paparazzi on his car. And it's just the way that the music is playing with it, we were able to get, the impact of the music stay on top of everything. And then Ryan was able to bring in her hitting the car and everything else underneath it. And she lets out this like lion scream at the end. That's just, you feel kind of everything come out of her at that point. And it's really, really powerful.
And you have a big smash in there, I believe, Becky.
That's really a counterpoint to the music. The big heavy sound effects against the sweet music and the emotional context of the scene is this is just a scene that just really worked well.
Yeah, and then that's kind of what they do a lot in the series is they have the juxtaposition of like this music that's doing one thing and then you're seeing another, and it plays really well. And I feel like we were able to achieve it.
What was great too about the filmmakers was they really gave us complete freedom. The three of us, we never spotted anything. We didn't have anyone here with us on the stage. It was just the three of us making the episodes, and it was really awesome.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Was it a tight schedule and quick, or how does this work? I mean,
it was actually we had decent amount of time on this, which was. Thank God we did.
I mean, we did an episode a week. But we mixed every, once a week, one episode a week. And then the filmmakers would clear view in and listen and give us a few notes, and they were really happy. And it was a really great creative experience for us because they allowed us to just do our thing.
We feel like, we never, we haven't worked with any of these filmmakers before, so jumping into a new project, we were like, we're going to do what we think is best, and we're going to put our best foot forward. And then when we realized we were all really on the same page, I mean, we all knew what to do. We all know what the show needed. So it was just, we sort of gained their trust, and it was just a great experience. It was, it was, bouncing ideas off each other. Just it's what you want in making a show.
Yeah.
Well, I love the movement throughout too. I will admit, I binge watched like a lot of America last weekend, and there's something nice about the fact that by the time you get to episode 4, you've built. I mean, it's almost like you're never comfortable in this series. Nobody's ever comfortable, and we're building to a thing here, to a point where one of my other favorite scenes in episode 4 is when our protagonist, antagonist, I'm not sure what he is, but he releases the tape and he's now being chased. And could you talk to me about the scene when some, spoiler alert, bikers come after our friend, Hell's Angels? Becky, you want to start with that scene? Or actually, Juan, you want to start with that scene when the bikers come storming the building?
Yeah, that was another challenging scene because it was not supposed to be any dialogue during that scene. And last minute,
there wasn't. You're right.
And last minute, they're like, "Wire everybody, be ready for anything." And I'm like, "Okay." So there's Steadicam. The bikers, they get to the office. They walk in. They grab the guy, which that didn't happen in rehearsal. They grab the guy. They push him against the wall. And they start destroying the place. I don't think all that made it to the picture, but they destroyed the place. They totally destroyed the whole place. And at the same time, we did Seth running through the back, and we continued that in a different scene. But that was
He has more than one escape. Those when he has to run away from them.
Yes, he ran away from the office. He ran away from his building. And but it was one of those scenes that you have to be ready and prepare and be creative in what you want to do.
There in the dub stage, what was it like? Because here we're sort of going along. He's just sort of trying to pick up some tapes, clean up some stuff, and then hell breaks loose. Can you talk to us about the scene from your point of view there?
We actually also looped some of those guys. I just wanted to make them more menacing and start them outside, so they would all like start calling his name and looking for him, and we kind of just added some taunting ADR from the bikers, and it was really fun.
Yeah, it's just, the scene was all about creating tension. The bikers pull up, they come in, they burst through the door, so big effects there, and then they knock over, I think like a tower of tapes or something. So that Foley was fun. But I think what really, and Nick can probably talk about this, drove that scene was the pulsing music through that. I think that's what really held that whole scene together.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you remember about it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we start building that from when Tommy goes and visits the Hells Angels guys. And from that point on, it's like, okay, something's going to happen, and the score, the tension in the score when they start the bike, there's a really menacing, like kind of metallic sounds that he did in the score that just make it really scary as the bike's coming up. And then you cut to Seth walking in the building, and we were able to get the guys to say some stuff. They kick in the door and they're saying, I think they're saying like, "Hey, Rand," or like calling Rand, try to So everything, like Ryan said, everything's about tension, right? So we're just building, and then when he finally gets out, it's like the sense of relief. You get the sense of relief. So it was a really fun sequence, just starting all the way back from when Tommy met the bikers.
That's when he's in the car, his muscle car. He pulls up right to the. That's what starts. But that's repeated. I mean, then later we have Rand, in his own apartment, and in the distance we hear motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see the terror. You can see the terror in his face.
Yeah.
The bikes pull out.
That's a sound he doesn't want to hear anymore. But let's talk finally about this sort of pulsing, pacing. Music drives it, and yet we have the way the filming works. There's so much movement. I mean, it's one way to create chaos, and I think we touched on it earlier. It starts with you, Juan. You have to capture all this. But how do you, in post-production, keep this pace so that 4 episodes, and I'm never comfortable and I'm never bored.
Yeah.
At all. I mean, could you talk to me sort of about building that? Because it does build up to 4. It is not the same in episode 1.
The whole series 1 to 8, when you're watching it, I don't think you really understand what you're watching until you really get past into the 3rd, 4th episode, and the way it does build. Because in the beginning you're kind of like, what is this? But you're hooked, and then it takes you, I think, emotionally down paths that you weren't expecting.
Yeah,
and that's because it built with everything that we are able to layer together. The momentum just builds into something emotionally that you're not expecting once you hit, the episode 6, which is one of my favorites, called Pam in Wonderland, and where she has her deposition. And then it just builds to the end. And I think it's a fascinating story, something that I had no idea about. And it's just all the elements came together perfectly to create that.
I think what's cool from sort of a sound design perspective is that, we sort of build with the story, we build the technology as well. We start off with the tape, sounds of the tape, and I think this is also reflected in the music. Yeah. It's very analog. And then I forget what episode, all of a sudden you feel a change. It's like, oh, the score now has these like dial-up modem sounds in it. And so it's like, as we build through the story, we're also building the technology as well. Yeah. The story starts off on a tape and it ends up in the hands of millions through the internet. So I think that's just an interesting way of growth.
Yeah, and it's credit to the filmmakers too. I mean, cutting this thing together had to have been insane. So when we get it, just trying to figure out how to balance all the different. I mean, music was the big driving force. So all the needle drops coming into the score cues and keeping it, just constantly back and forth really was a challenging thing, but it helped keep the pacing up.
For me, I love that. I mean, as a filmmaker, sound mixer, I love the way the actors, they separate the love story from the comedy. It's amazing. Episode 104 starts, with he finding out about the tape, and it starts building up, and he doesn't care about the tape, and she's getting all that personal, and that's when that starts the friction between both of them, and the baby, when she starts going to the doctor, and she, at the end, he finds out that she's not having the baby. Oh my God! And
honestly, it operates on an emotional level. It operates as a thriller in a sense.
And it's the other story when Ran is finding out about the tape that he's thinking he's making money, and all of a sudden he goes to Tower Records and sees another guy selling tapes, and Milty is having fun with his girls. I was like, it's a good episode.
It moves. I'm telling you. I mean, it was. These are 47-minute episodes, I think, something like somewhere around there, and there's never a dull moment.
At the same time, you guys have to realize that also we shot this in summertime, and in the San Fernando Valley, every day was 102, 103. That scene when she gets out of the car, the paparazzi, that was 103 degrees. I mean, we were melting outside. And and she's wearing all these prosthetics. When she gets out of the car, I mean, she starts matching the car because she's like, I'm going to get it in one take, and this is the take.
And in perspective, were there anything interesting in perspective? You must have played with that a lot, because we sort of experience it from Pam's point of view, but we have Rand coming in, we have Nick, we have all these things coming in. So Becky, you want to finish up with some perspective shifts and things and how you're telling that story?
I really found the whole story so moving as a woman to see her point of view and what really happened to her. And I think it was so devastating just to think of her as a real person and how that affected them. They could be such a cartoony character when you're looking at them from People magazine, but when we really delve into the series and we really meet them and really see what happened, I think it's a fascinating mix of comedy and drama, and it just really works. And I think the work we did and Juan, it really it supported the story, which is what we're here to do. Sound can make an emotional landscape, I believe, and help support that landscape. And so, I don't know. I'm very proud of it.
You should be. Outstanding job, and I wish you luck in the Emmy nominations coming up. Please, it's for those of you who haven't looked at it, I don't want to say surprisingly good, but it's damn good, and the performances are excellent. And like you say, Becky, we all lived through this, but it's a story I wasn't familiar with.
It takes you on a wild ride. Becky said earlier, you don't really, even working on it, you don't really realize what you're watching until later on in the series. I think episode 6 is when you get hit with that episode. It's like, it's pretty devastating. So it's a great series. I'm so proud of it.
More than a few lives change over the course of these of a very short time. Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Juan, Nick, Ryan, Becky. Outstanding job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I went into it thinking it was a limited series drama, and it turned into a thriller. Thank you. And good luck the rest of the way. Good luck in the nominations.
All right. Thank you so much.